Hey everybody, it's Sha Blackburn, the LoonWitch here, and today is Friday, November 5th, 2021, and it's time for our Tarot Chat and Munch. This is the 11th in my mini-series of Learn the Tarot for free. So each of the videos from January until next month, December, will be about 15 minutes long. Little tips on how you can learn how to use the tarot, read the tarot, totally for free. So the deck that I usually use, we've been through, let me just backtrack briefly. We've been through pretty much the big picture of how to read the tarot. We've been through the different suits, we've been through different types of readings. And one thing that I wanted to show you is I want to talk to you about using different decks, because when you take a class with me, the cost of the class covers your deck. So you end up getting a tarot deck, so everybody's learning on the same deck. I just find that that's really helpful. In the beginning, when I first started teaching, I would tell people you just bring your own deck, whatever deck you wanted. And sometimes we would get into class and I would be describing like the basic, a very generic artwork that appears on every card. And I mean every card, so like I'm going to show you the Eight of Swords. So I would be describing like the basic artwork that you see typically on every Eight of Swords card. And that may just come down to the fact that there's going to be 8 swords on the Eight of Swords. However, sometimes people would come back and they would say, oh, I don't have that, I have this instead. And we would end up getting into a deeper discussion about one particular deck. And while that's really great, and it's great for something like a tarot talk, or our tarot chat and munch, then that's wonderful, except that it takes away from people learning the basics of getting the experience on how to work with the tarot. So when you get another deck, and you will, I tell people all the time, you know, there's thousands of decks on the market out there. I have about 200 of them because I'm a little bit of a shopaholic, I think, but I just love the different and diverse artwork. So the deck that I typically use is the mini Hanson Roberts, and sometimes I use the full-size Hanson Roberts. So here's our Eight of Swords here, and you can see in here, this is a woman, she's bound up, she's blindfolded, right? She looks like a typical bodice ripper. I can't see where I'm going. I'm surrounded by all these obstacles, and she's got 8 swords around her. So I want you to take a look at up over her head, or behind her, you see this beautiful, strong castle on a hill, right? Great structure, a lot of safety there. So then you get a different deck. So let's say we buy the Shadowscapes Tarot. In the Shadowscapes Tarot, our Eight of Swords looks like this, right? We're all behind this fallen log. It's a swan wrapped up in brambles, surrounded by swords. And up above the swan's head is a hummingbird in a beautiful illuminated light. And if you look at the shape of the brambles above that hummingbird, it's almost like a heart shape, right? So you want to get back to your passion. You want to get back to the things that you love. And the messages between these two cards is pretty similar, right? The imagery is pretty similar. So in the imagery, this is where our metaphorical language is. This is where we learn to speak tarot. Okay, so you want to take this very basic, very generic, typical tarot in your Rider-Waite deck, in your, oh my gosh, the Coleman Smith tarot, in all of those, the IJJ Swiss and things like that. You're going to get that very generic, there's a person, so, well, not in the IJJ Swiss because that's only going to be 8 swords, but in most decks, there's a person surrounded by swords. She's tied up. She's got a blindfold on. Somewhere there's a castle behind her. And you're going to take that same image and translate it into, now we're working with cards that only have animals as characters, or mythical beings as characters, not human people. Okay, so as we're looking at this, the message is kind of the same, but it speaks to us a little bit differently, right? It speaks to us, if you're connected to nature and you're connected to that swan energy or the hummingbird energy, you're going to know something a little bit more about what the artist was saying when they created this card. So the cards, the meaning of the cards, the generic, basic meaning of the cards is the same. Don't worry about the in this case, it's don't worry about the obstacles. Most of the time, you've created those obstacles yourself. Just step forward, step forward, step forward. At some point, you have to take the shackles off, take the blindfold off, and move forward. And that's one of the reasons why maybe the Eight of Swords has come up for us today, is because it is time for you to take the blindfold off, start moving forward. What is the deck that you feel the most drawn to? Go through that whole deck. Buy it, go through it, sit and enjoy it, talk to it, make friends with it, and really embrace the fact that the deck itself is a thing of beauty. It's a thing of artwork. And then go back over the old videos and take a look and see, do those generic meanings make sense? Can you relate a story of each suit? I might have to sneeze. Can you relate the story of each suit, or is the story a little bit different for that deck? When you're looking at that, all of the swords laid out, can you see the story developing? When you're looking at all of the cups laid out, can you see the story developing? There's some great websites I will post in the comments. There's one that's really great to look at, and you can see a lot of images of the tarot on there, and that is eclectictarot.com, which is AECCLECTIC. I think I spelled it correctly. But I'll look it up and I'll put the link in the chat. And on that website, you can search for a bunch of different criteria, and it will show you, you'll be able to see like 10 to 20 cards from the deck. So you're really going to have an idea of whether you're going to like the deck, whether you're interested in working with the deck. And as you do that, as you move forward into different decks, I have the deck that I read with all the time, right? I read with this deck constantly. I have many, many, many of them, because as they get worn out, I start replacing them until I have one deck that's like all dog-eared, and then I have another deck that's not so dog-eared. So over the years, I've probably had about 10, maybe. I might be pushing a dozen at this point of these decks, and they're phenomenal. I just love the artwork. I love the energy. I really enjoy working with them. But then I have other decks that I use just for meditation, and I have other decks that I use just for specific types of readings. I have one deck that I use when I do past life readings. And, are you going to get into doing all these different types of readings? Are you going to use your cards to meditate? Are you going to use your cards for profit? Are you going to use your cards just for fun? Like anything, building the relationship with your cards is going to be key. So I'll encourage you to find the deck that you love. Find a couple decks that you love. Use one of them for just yourself, and use the other one for friends and family, or use the other one for clients if you're going to take on clients. And work with them together. The one that's tried and true, so this is my tried and true deck. When I buy a new deck, I always keep them together. I keep my tried and true deck with the new deck for a while. I'll bring that new deck around, I'll throw it in my purse, and I'll bring it around with me. I'll use it and look at it and reference it as I'm doing readings, so that I can make sure that I'm getting, I don't know what's happening right now. There's I can see a lot of things floating down in front of me in the camera. It's interesting. Anyway, sorry, I was distracted by crazy energy in this room. Anyway, as you are working with the tarot, you may notice that there is a deck that speaks to you, and there's a deck that you want to speak to. And keeping those two decks together and working with them together while you're building that relationship is going to help you connect to, okay, this is the Eight of Swords that I know. This is the Eight of Swords that's new to me. What new information or new insight can I gain from this different artwork? So that's pretty much my story for today. I'm going to encourage you, like I said, get your tried and true deck. go look at some new decks. It's almost Christmas, right? So it's time to buy yourself a little present. You've worked hard. We're going back into our regular day-to-day work life. There's a lot of like weird little orb energy that's happening around me. um, so I'm just really amused by what I'm seeing in the camera behind me, and I don't know if it's going to translate onto the screen or not. So I'll be interested if any of you see the orbs also. Okay, that's it for me. Go out and get yourself another deck. I am wishing you the best of the best for November. We're moving into daylight savings time. I don't know why we still do it, but we do. And we're moving into the holiday season. So when we get to that, is it the third Thursday in November? When we get to that holiday, I want you to be sure that you're showing gratitude for your friends and family and all the blessings that you have in your life. I don't know what we're going to talk about next month. I'm going to go back and watch all the videos myself so I can catch up and see what I want to touch on in our last Learn the Tarot for Free Tarot Chat and Munch. And I look forward to hearing all of your feedback. If you're watching this on YouTube and you haven't joined our Enchanted Forest Mighty Network, you can check us out at Enchanted Forest, SWC.com. So that is Enchanted Forest Spiritual Wellness Center, so SWC. And that's our free online community. There's a lot of different circles you can join. We've got a book club circle, we've got the tarot study group circle, we've got just the main group. There's a few different things that you can join. So I'm going to encourage you to check it out. And that's where you can watch all the past videos, because these videos are only live for a couple of weeks on YouTube to the public, and then they go away and they just get listed on the Mighty Network. All right. So blessings to you. We're almost to a new moon. It's time to think about what new thing do you want to bring in to your life during this dark half of the year, when it's time to sit back, start learning, embracing some new knowledge. You know, what are the things that you'd like to learn? Maybe it's time to get yourself a tarot deck, sit back and watch all 12 videos. If you're interested in taking a class in person, I do have a class coming up in November. It is a boot camp style, so it's two days. We're doing 2 different Sundays, back-to-back Sundays. So it's a 2-day intensive on how to read the tarot. You can reach out to me, LoonWitch@gmail.com, and just say, I'm interested in taking your class. All right. Until then, I'll talk to you soon. Be well.